And again, I think it's like exactly how that Libra North Node vision is going to work. It's like you invest in somebody else and eventually their vision becomes something where your skills are exactly what's needed to fill this particular gap. You may not be steering the ship, you're definitely not the only player on the team, but you absolutely are integral, and without your support and without your building up their vision, there is nowhere for you to put your skills. So it's like that. It's like your future, your destiny is inextricably linked with another person, at least one in this lifetime, if your North Node is in Libra or the seventh house. Hello friends, welcome to another chapter in this series. We're getting close to done with this particular series. I want to thank you for your patience if you've been waiting for this particular episode. So glad we're here. And like everything, literally everything in life, I feel like it was divinely timed that I made this episode when I did, because I have to tell a bit of a personal story before I dive into this particular chapter. Also serving as a disclaimer in case I get a little passionate about this particular topic. So both of my parents are Libra North Nodes, both of them. And that makes them both Aries South Nodes. We don't have birth times for either one of them, so I have no idea what houses those fall into, but I do know that I have Aries completely intercepted inside my 12th house. So that means both of them have their South Node in my 12th house, their North Node in my 6th house. And I gotta say that I've said a lot that like all the chapters have been really powerful for me to work with, and blah, 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 so powerful. This one though, like it was powerful on a whole nother level, because have you ever thought about checking out the chapter for your parents' North Node? Like stepping into that perspective of like what phase of evolution is their soul working on? And as I listened and like opened my heart to the Aries South Node end, like how I've done for every chapter, and I listen about what has the Aries South Node been through before, and what is it bringing with it, and what is it here to do this time. And I see both of my parents, and I feel like I forgave them a lot. Like I felt like I had already forgiven them for the most part. And yet, as I listened and understood what the Aries South Node entails, I see them more clearly as perfect souls on their perfect journey. And I see how they have helped me to grow, and how I have helped them to grow, and how it makes perfect sense that our souls are coming together to do this work together. And I feel like I'm strong enough to see that now, where I definitely haven't been in the past. And I would say like even just this last week or two, I've had moments with my parents that have brought me to this place of being so ready to feel compassionate towards them. And learning about Aries South Node helped me a lot in that endeavor. So I do recommend that you take in as many of these chapters as makes sense in your own chart. For example, I really resonated with like the one that is corresponding with my rising sign. I'm a Taurus rising. Watching the Taurus North Node chapter, I feel like the rising and the ascendant and descendant are basically a whole nother axis, where you have shadow on one side and you have light on the other side. So yeah, that one was really powerful. I haven't even gotten to the one that matches my moon sign yet, so I'm looking forward to that one. But I feel like there's a lot in all of these chapters as far as how to recognize the shadow of one and how to develop the other to balance it out. So I feel like that can be applied through lots of different placements in our chart, as well as looking at the chapters for those you love and nodes are great. They're one of the things that it moves so slowly that even without somebody's birth time, you can be relatively confident at knowing what their nodes are. So check it out and see, maybe look at your parents or other people that maybe you've had difficult relationships with in the past, and listen to that chapter and see if it doesn't wiggle something loose as far as compassion and understanding on a deeper level. Thank you for indulging me in my personal intro for this particular chapter. I've really enjoyed making it. So without further ado, within this series, I have used 2 books as my references. One is Astrology for the Soul by Jan Spiller, and the second is Yesterday's Sky by Stephen Forrest. Highly recommend either of these books. Very evolutionary oriented as far as taking what you got and growing from where you are. So I love that perspective. My ultimate goal with this series is to actually give you some information about how to work with the current transit of the North Node through Taurus, the South Node through Scorpio, to get the most out of that particular energy for your unique soul's journey, aka your unique North Node placement. Also, if you do have a Libra North Node that is not in your 7th house, like it's in your 4th house, it's in your 10th house, check out the house video associated with your North Node placement if it does differ from the sign, just because that's going to add a whole nother layer of context onto how you understand your past and your future. If you don't know your birth time and you don't have houses, that's okay. You can still get a lot out of just the sign. Before we get into applying what we can do with this North Node in Taurus transit, first I'm going to go through what is a Libra North Node, and we're going to start by understanding what is an Aries South Node. What does that tell us about where you're coming from and what you brought with you? In this first category, we're going to look at it in kind of like 2 different lights of like, one is the skills and talents that you can be really thankful that you possess. You possess them because you had this past life experience and it has taught you and ingrained certain behaviors in you that are natural and never going away. Most likely, they're really in there. But on the flip side, because it's your South Node, it also represents the most over-exaggerated part of your personality. And because that's the strongest and the most over-exaggerated, the North Node side is naturally the least emphasized, the least developed side of your personality. So that's where Libra would come into the mix for this particular chapter. So we'll also get into attributes to develop, but first we're going to look at the skills to be thankful for. What are the pieces that you can take to the bank? You can count on these. Another way to look at it, and specifically I'm talking to you guys, Aries South Node, is like, these are the things that you possess that basically nobody else in the world does. So that's like one of the mindset shifts that Aries South Node is here to make is, or first house South Node is like, you have a particular viewpoint and everybody else has a viewpoint that is different from yours. So this may sound really like basic and beginner level, but acknowledging the viewpoint of the other and seeing their viewpoint through their eyes, hearing their viewpoint through their ears, that is essentially that 7th house North Node, Libra North Node. So remembering that these skills and talents, like not everybody has these. So you can feel confident, you can feel like this is what I bring to the table, and everybody else, your North Node and Libra development is about recognizing that other people are bringing other skills to the table. And you don't need to feel insecure because your skills are different. You just need to own what you have and support what they got going on and let there be harmony between and synergy between the two of you. So the first skill to be thankful for is your warrior-like split-second decision-making and ability to act under extreme pressure. So like when it's a do or die situation, like warrior, like literal war is the best example of like, it may not have been that exact situation. It may have been similarly intense and competitive and all of that. That can happen in business, that can happen in even relationships. But mostly let's just imagine soldiers. Let's imagine the military, where there are clear rules. Everybody is essentially following the same rules, and the rules that you're following are there for you to survive. The way that we think about our enemy and the other, they are very different. They are very separate from us, and we don't need to talk to them or get to know them or anything like that. We're here to fight and for what we want and what we believe and our standpoint, our viewpoint, and we're here to survive. So that ability to handle extreme pressure and to basically like rise in the face of a challenge, this is what I'm talking about with like, you guys are uniquely talented in this regard with like, when you meet an intense situation or like a fight or anything like that, you just stand up and go to battle. And not everybody possesses that kind of strength, that kind of courage, that kind of like literal ability to charge into battle. I mean, that's scary for most people. I'm most people. Like, I can tell you that's very unnatural for most of us. So the fact that that level of pressure doesn't just shut you down, and if anything, it brings a part of you to life that probably feels really good and really familiar. But on the flip side of this, right, like we're talking about the light of the skill, the talent, yay, and the shadow of like, let's be on the lookout for these things, is one, impulsiveness, where there is something that comes up and you just act in the moment, act out of your own self-interest, act out of your own like maybe even over-exaggerated concern for survival and your safety. And basically what we're talking about is when you do that, when you take that impulsive action, you're automatically leaving out of the equation everybody else that's on your team, right? Your spouse, your business partner, your, literal teammates, you're playing football, like whatever it is. When you're acting on your own, you're not acting in harmony with the rest of the team. Another way this can look is brute force self-assertion. So basically, like if you're not getting your way, or if your goal isn't getting met, or you're feeling insecure, as in like, hey, we needed to get this done by a certain time and it's not happening, who I delegated it to, they're not getting it done, it's not going to get done on time, fine, I'll just do it myself. Again, you're circumventing the rest of your team every time you second guess your team, as in like, I'll just take it back and do it myself. That is degrading trust in the rest of your team. They feel like you must not trust me. You didn't even ask me if I was going to finish it on time. You just assumed that I wasn't, and now I have to, now like you're doing it yourself when I had already done all the work. I was right on schedule. Everything was fine. But instead of asking me if that was the case, you assumed that it wasn't and you did it yourself. And now I'm upset because I feel like you don't trust me. So that can be the downside of like pushing through to your own goal, no matter what the cost, like no matter what people think of me, no matter what it costs me, I'm going to accomplish my goal and I'm going to take care of my own needs. It's like that alienates everybody else, basically, makes them feel like they don't matter. And that is, it's invalidating. And that's where, the Libra North Node end, when we get to the attributes to develop, it's like opening up to what are the needs, what are the goals, what are the viewpoints of everybody else. So if there is a situation that even requires a fast decision, there's always time to ask everybody else that's on your team. And we're going to get into like, not just everybody's on your team, right? Like you have to pick your team members and like pick really good ones. And so we're not just trusting anybody, we're trusting the team member that you chose. So we're going to get into that here in a little bit too. In general, it kind of all comes back from that like military style battlefield mentality of this is urgent, life and death. If I take my eyes off of what I'm doing, if I try to look over here and see what my teammate is doing, my fellow soldier, in the moment that I'm looking at him, I get sideswiped and attacked. And so it's like almost like a traumatically induced sense of like having your consciousness 100% isolated onto yourself. And again, like that's okay, that's what it is, and that's what you're bringing with you. But that is the work in this lifetime, is to open that consciousness back up. And for the people that you've chosen to be on your team with you, that we have to open our consciousness and apply our consciousness to them, because as we're going to see when we get to attributes to develop, you guys got some serious superpowers that the world absolutely needs. There's a very natural ability to be a leader when it comes to the Aries South Node and the first house South Node. Again, this can come from like that military style, like giving orders. It's not personal, I'm trying to keep us alive kind of mentality of act fast and survive. So there is a natural tendency to like take charge and to be comfortable in that position. But the shadow of that can be thoughtless self-assertion, where it's really not necessary that you step up and take charge always, right? Sometimes other people may be able to do the job, and if you would give them the time and space, they would be able to rise to the occasion. There can be something in the Aries South Node that says, like, they're not doing it fast enough, and because they're too slow, I just have to do it myself. I can't even stand to watch them take so long to do the thing that would only take me a hot second. Makes you very uncomfortable. So again, though, it comes back to a lack of trust in other people. And this, I would again say, let yourself off the hook for that, because let's go back to the battlefield for a second, where you got these people on your team, AKA your fellow soldiers, and the second you start counting on one of them, here comes a freaking grenade and they get blown to hell right in front of you. And it's like, yeah, when you depend on people, how does that work out for you? Like, other people are coming and going every which way. I'm the only one that I have that can save my life. If my life's in danger, other people aren't going to help me. I'm on my own. So again, a traumatically induced sense of like fight or die. And that can be really complicated when it comes to, especially earlier in your life when it's just natural to be more in your South Node, is like fighting when fighting's not necessary. You know, like as we get into the Libra side, it's like a good soldier knows when to fight and when to negotiate, when to try to work it out and avoid a war, versus like that ship has sailed and we're charging into battle. Like Aries likely was on the front lines of like, those decisions have been made, we're doing it, like this is what we're doing. Libra has the space and the open air to possibly talk it out, to possibly explore a diplomatic solution. But when we jump straight to fighting, you don't give any space to that. So that's where the Aries South Node can have a bit of a hot temper. Again, if the goal is not being met as they see, like this is the goal that needs to happen, it's like there can be a level of anxiety that can erupt into a temper tantrum of sorts. But again, it's not really like, it's not necessarily childlike. It's like, I have this goal. I'm so attached to my goal because I'm treating it like it's a life or death situation, which is like subconsciously where I still am, is back on the battlefield, like fighting for my life. And this lifetime with a Libra North Node is about recognizing that you're actually not on a battlefield anymore. You are now in a calm setting where diplomacy will work if you give it the chance to happen. So that brings us then to the attributes to develop. So the Libra North Node, the 7th house North Node, what is it that we're trying to lean into, even though it may feel like stepping outside of our comfort zone? This is the direction that our soul is trying to evolve. So the first and probably easiest like one-word answer is partnership. Basically, in this lifetime, if you have an Aries South Node or a first house South Node, you can expect to have goals that require participation from more than just you. Like it's impossible to meet your goal by yourself. So you will have to partner with somebody else who has different skills, or maybe you just literally need more hands. Like you cannot physically do your goal with only your 2 hands and only your 24 hours in the day. You physically need more people in order to enact such a big vision. These big visions, these big goals that you have are not by accident. They feel so important, so urgent, and it's so frustrating when other people won't just like do what you say. And the big goal that feels so important that it has to happen is there to help you to accept that you do have to learn how to work with other people if you want them to stick around and help you to bring this big vision of yours to life. And that's where it really does remind me of my parents. And I wonder if you're an Aries South Node, especially, like I would love to hear in the comments if you married later in life, if it took you closer to like 30 years, like especially at their age, like back in the 80s when they got married, like at that time it was way more common to like get married at 18, start having kids by 20. Like that's basically what people did. That's what their siblings had done. And both of my parents, like both came in 1959, both Aries South Nodes, and they had adventures to live before they were going to be ready to settle down or sacrifice any level of personal freedom to have a relationship. Why? What's the point? Took them a while. And then eventually the point was that they both wanted kids. Talk about a goal you can't accomplish by yourself. So they both wanted kids. My dad had a business started when he met my mom, and he had been doing it only for like 4 or 5 months, and then she came along, and she has like a bookkeeping accounting type background, and he knows how to fix and install milking equipment. So it's like 2 very different skill sets, but as far as if you're gonna run a business, it absolutely takes both. So in the early 80s, they merged forces, and basically he goes out in the world and does the work and installs the equipment and fixes all the things. And she is in a centralized location sending out statements, collecting money, taking it to the bank, preparing the taxes, on and on and on with like running the business side of it. I also think it's really interesting that like they both are Aries South Nodes, aka hardwired for independence, and this joint vision that they set off on, aka this business, eventually once they had all 4 of us kids, the level of money that they needed to make in order to feel secure was higher than what he was able to make by staying close to home. So the joint conclusion as they worked it out was that it would be worthwhile for him to go on the road for months at a time, to be able to take jobs that were big enough for him to pay for the living expenses of all 6 of us, plus save for the eventual education of these kids. Like hopefully they want to do something with their lives, and we want to be able to help them with that. So they decided they both wanted this level of income, and to get to that level of income, he would go away for months at a time and she would stay at home for months at a time by herself with all 4 of us kids. That was the arrangement that they came to together. So it's just very interesting to me looking at like the Aries South Node wired for independence, wired to survive really harsh, exacting circumstances that are just like most people would fold like a piece of paper underneath this level of pressure. And they both manifested, especially like by separating towards their common goal, but by doing each having their own independent piece to contribute, they each had to still withstand the pressures of, this is your piece, you are on your own. This is your piece, you are on your own. But when both pieces got done, they fed us, they clothed us. I mean, we didn't want for anything. And the business is still going strong. It's like 40 years old, and my brothers are probably gonna maybe take it over something. Like they built something that was sustainable, and it required each of them to have that drive, to have that ability, but they did it together. Neither of them could have done it all by themselves. Neither of them has all the pieces of the puzzle. It's like, I think this was Jan Spiller's book, but she's like, each of you hold half the treasure map. Like if you only have your half, you have no idea how to get there. If they only have their half, they have no idea how to get there. It's when you join forces that then you can really see the bigger picture of what exactly do we need to do to create this life that we both want it. We can both see it. We both see how we might get there, but it's incomplete without both halves of the puzzle. When you have a Libra North Node, a 7th house North Node, there will be other people who are required in order for you to meet your unique vision. So as far as like what specifically are we trying to develop with that Libra or 7th house North Node, we want to be able to look at people and understand what is unique about them, what is special about them, what is the unique brilliance that this person brings to the table. How are they different from me? There's, back on that South Node side, there's an assumption that can happen often because you're moving so quickly or you feel the need to move so quickly, you can assume for the sake of time that everybody's just like me. So we'll just put everybody in that bucket and just like move on. And it's like, no, that doesn't work as far as like, we need to be able to look at other people and see their nuances, see the subtle distinctions that makes them 100% unique as far as human beings on this planet go. It's not safe to make assumptions about anybody. And this can be where some of that frustration comes from on the South Node end, as far as judging others for not being fast enough, or like resenting others because they want to do it a different way than what you want to do it and you think this is the right way. It's like, there can be the false assumption that their goal is the same as your goal. So like, yes, let's say the speed thing. They're not going fast enough. They're not, it takes them 3 days. It only takes me 1 day. Maybe they could do it in 1 day and they don't want to. So like, what might their reasons be for not wanting to do it how you do it? Maybe they don't agree that is the best way because their goal is not to get it done as fast as they can. Maybe their goal is to enjoy the process of doing it. Maybe their goal is to take in lots of feedback about whatever it is before they churn out the finished product. They may have completely different motivations and reasons and sources of fulfillment that you know nothing about, and that's why they're slow. They're not doing even close to the same process as what you're doing, and that's why it's taking them longer, because they're doing something different. So understanding that everybody has reasons, everybody has their own agenda, everybody has their own goals, everybody has their own skills and talents and unique brilliances, and Libra North Node is uniquely qualified to discover and activate every single bit of it. You guys are ridiculous when it comes to empowering other people. You are powerful, you are courageous, you are brave in the face of extreme pressures. And it gives you the unique ability, the unique perspective to see where others aren't feeling confident. You can sense where their courage is lacking. And as you sense that their courage is lacking and you zoom in on who are you and what are your needs and what are your talents and where does this insecurity that I can feel, where is that coming from, and what is in my power to empower you? One of my favorite sayings out of this whole chapter is Aries or Libra North Nodes have this unique ability to transplant courage. That is like so freaking true. So freaking true. When you zoom in on another person, you can build them up. You can make them see how strong they really are. Like this one is almost gonna make me emotional. It reminds me of my mom. And like one of the things that was like absolutely her biggest gift, I think, when it came to her being my mom. There were, like any parent, there's always shortcomings. There's always the way I need to be loved is the exact opposite of how she loves. There's always gonna be a little bit of that. But the part where I truly needed her and she was absolutely 110% there for me was in building up my confidence, in building up my self-esteem. She told me all the time how much potential I had, how smart I was. Like she was seeing my unique gifts and she was encouraging me to see them too. And the other piece that she really, I feel like, gave me, one of the biggest gifts that she gave me, is like anytime I would ask her for her advice, like I would go to her and, here's the crossroads that I'm facing in my life. Do I go this way or do I go this way? What do you think? She's like, no, you got to do what you can live with. What do you think? What can you live with? You're the one that when you go to bed at night, you got to look at yourself in the mirror. When you get up in the morning, you got to look at yourself in the mirror. On your deathbed, you are with you. What can you live with? And to me, those are Aries South Node wisdom words in motion. What can you live with? It's not for me to give you my advice. I don't know. I'm not inside your shoes. Nobody is. Only you can know. What can you live with? And so that to me is like the epitome of this Libra North Node potential of, again, not barking orders, not pushing your agenda and your goals, but zooming in on what are their goals and how can I empower them? How can I transplant some of this courage that's so natural for me? How can I give it to them? How can I get them to see how strong and capable they are? So with the Libra North Node, with the 7th house North Node, there is a really good chance that like you won't be the one to come up with the dream. Maybe you are. Because like think about my parents. Like my dad is, well, they're both Aries South Nodes, but my dad's an Aries moon also. And my mom is a Cancer moon. And so in their situation, my dad had started his business all by himself and he had time to recognize that this is a gap. Like I'm doing all the things, I'm fixing all the things, I'm like, so good. The bookkeeping, the getting paid part, the sending out the statement so the person will pay me part, like I might be having some things fall through the cracks over here and I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like he was just in that boat. And then he met my mom. And I think that especially when it comes to a Libra North Node, that is probably the easiest way to be able to appreciate the gifts and skills and unique talents of other people, is that you yourself try to do the thing and you cannot. You do not possess these skills, you do not possess this passion, you do not possess this talent. And you try to fit yourself into that space and you maybe can do okay at it. And then somebody walks in and they're like, this is who I am. And it's everything that is missing from your skill set. It's all the pieces that you would delegate if you could. And they're like, so I would like to do this, 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 this. These are my natural gifts and talents. And if I could do this, that'd be cool. And you're looking at it like, that's all the stuff that I have been running into roadblocks and like, I don't know how to do those things. In walks somebody who can. So the other story that I want to tell that I feel like really embodies this is my mom and her Cancer moon, and how, back in the early 80s when she met my dad, she very much was fulfilling that role of like nurturing and supporting his vision and his company and like this thing that he had set out to create. She was like, let me add my skills to make sure that your vision is a success. That's like classic Libra North Node. Plus her Cancer moon, I think, set her up to get to that stage a little bit faster than my dad and his Aries moon. But at the same time, they reversed roles here within the last 5 years when I opened my grocery store. So, 34 years ago when I was born, my mom went to, building me up and giving me this confidence and encouraging me to live up to my potential and find what I could live with and chase my dreams and all of that. And she did all of that, and fast forward to 5 years ago, I came back to my hometown. I opened a grocery store, and through this like random unfolding, she ended up as the bakery deli manager at my grocery store. And that proceeded to unlock this phase of her kind of getting to live out this like Aries South Node, like laying down the gauntlet, like a challenge that is 8 sizes bigger than you, And you have to, like, are you going to rise to meet it? Are you going to crumble under the weight of it? Are you going to learn how to pull in your resources and like get better at working with a team so that they can help you towards like this gargantuan task? I mean, the grocery store was open for 87 hours a week when we first opened, and we did lunch and dinner 7 days a week, and she was in charge of all of that. Plus we were baking fresh every single morning. So she was overseeing all of these different pieces. She had a staff of multiple people, never had any of these experiences before. And again, I think it's like exactly how that Libra North Node vision is going to work. It's like, you invest in somebody else and eventually their vision becomes something where your skills are exactly what's needed to fill this particular gap. You may not be steering the ship, you're definitely not the only player on the team, but you absolutely are integral, and without your support and without your building up their vision, there is nowhere for you to put your skills. So it's like that. It's like your future, your destiny is inextricably linked with another person, at least one in this lifetime, if your North Node is in Libra or the 7th house. So last but not least, I'll go through how to use this North Node through Taurus, South Node through Scorpio transit to work on developing your own Libra North Node, 7th house North Node. So the first piece, as far as like North Node through Taurus, building up our Taurus skill set, is actually, like, practically speaking, developing our inner peace, our self-awareness, aka like our ability to feel inside our 5 senses inside any moment. Cultivating our Taurus also gives us a felt sense of our own inner stability and security. So all of that feels like it goes a long way to basically soothing this poor PTSD soldier that is your Aries South Node. Like, freaking still in battle, like having the war dreams, like waking up in the middle of the night, like throwing knives at the wall. Like, traumatized is the Aries South Node, and it needs gentility. It needs comfort. It needs to slow down. It needs to be allowed to be safe. I think this is in Jan Spiller's book also, where it says, like, the hardest thing for the Aries South Node is to put down their shield. That soldier knows that when you set down your shield, you're open to an attack. And no attack. And it's like, but to do the Libra thing, to get connected with another person, you can't connect through a shield. You have to put it down in order to be able to connect. And on the purging Scorpio side, this is where I think, again, we go back to the freaking PTSD of the past lives and the traumatically induced over-reliance on the self because you can't count on your buddy over here to be there in 5 minutes because maybe they get blown up. So, like, literally being terrified of connecting with another person only to lose them. You'd rather just, I don't need people. I'll just have myself. Cause like, we always have ourselves. Like, you're not going to lose yourself. So that is terrifying for a Libra or 7th house North Node to like give up their autonomy to set down their shield and to merge with another person, because what if that other person leaves or decides that they don't actually want to do what's in alignment with the Aries South Node, or they die, like all marriages end either in divorce or death. So that is probably the biggest sticking point of like wanting to merge with another person. There's so much room to be let down or to experience pain as a result of that relationship. But again, like that purging Scorpio, that releasing those fears, allowing them to come up, exploring them fully, crying those tears, admitting those fears, poet didn't know it, and moving forward anyway. I mean, if anybody is capable of being afraid and moving forward anyway, it's an Aries South Node. It's you guys with the courage and the ability for directness. Like, it's okay. It's okay to be scared. But getting other people on your team is going to help expand what you're able to accomplish in this life through the harmony of a team, a well-oiled team where I bring my gifts and talents and you bring your gifts and talents and you bring your gifts and talents. And then we can cover so much more ground than any of us would have dreamed of covering by ourselves. That is truly remarkable. And again, you're able to direct a really big team as you're able to like really tap into who are these individual people that are on my team. I'm not just barking orders and expecting a bunch of little robot soldiers to hop to just because I said so. I am individually building rapport and relationships and trust with each of these individuals. So obviously that takes a lot of time. Obviously you're investing so much of your energy into the other person. And again, they can take that energy and they can walk away anytime. But you're not giving because of the reciprocation that can come back to you. You're giving because that feels good. It feels good to build up the confidence and to inspire enthusiasm in the people you care most about. And if anything, that's again where the Taurus North Node can really help you out, as far as if you're investing in yourself, aka Taurus, if you're loving yourself and taking good care of meeting your own physical needs such that you feel content and peaceful and you're not in a rush, there's no such thing as an urgent situation because I'm totally taken care of, then you can approach every single fork in the road, every single turning point or decision process, and you can, basically the example Jan Spiller gives is like, you can go to somebody on your team and say, here's what I can see as the goal, and here's what I can see as the best way to get there. How would you do it? And what do you think of our goal? Do you think that encompasses everything? Can you see anything that we might be leaving out? If you were going to start from scratch and try to make a path to get there, how would you do that? And let's see if between both of us explaining our processes, if maybe there isn't even a third option that's a combination of the two that would actually be the best path forward. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I will be back next week with another of these episodes. I think I only have 3 left at this point. The Leo, Aquarius, and Virgo North Node chapters are the ones that I have left. So I will be bringing out another one of those next week. Be sure to check out the other chapters. All of them are linked in the description box. Any of them that might resonate with your chart or your parents' charts. Feel free to check those out. And until next time, dear friends, you take such good care of yourselves, and so will I.